Hey guys, Maga here. With the new Meet Your Match update, there was a lot of game balance weapon changes, and therefore in this video I'll be going over all of the weapon changes to get you guys back in the game and start your road from nothing to MVP. This video is made so you guys don't have to read an entire page and question what each stat even means. This video will be going in depth, talking about all of the weapon changes and what it means for each class. So sit back, relax, and let's go. The long-awaited Criticola nerf has just happened. Now, after the effect of the Criticola runs out, the user will be penalized with a marked for death effect for 2 whole seconds. I understand what Valve is trying to do with the Criticola, but they could have been a little bit more harsh with the nerf and, you know, maybe taking out the speed boost mechanic so the reason of the weapon stays there, but then it just becomes a little bit weaker, in my opinion. I don't know, that's just what I thought. But it's a good nerf, I just feel like it deserves a bigger nerf. Next up, we have another nerf for the Soda Popper. Basically now, instead of just walking to charge up your 5 jump ability, you have to deal damage. The weapon is completely garbage now. To be honest, the weapon didn't even need a nerf. And man, they really went harsh on the Soda Popper. The short stop has gotten a complete makeover. They have removed the plus healing bonus effect, so now you don't get 30% plus extra health from health pack, and they have also reduced the push vulnerability to 20% from 40%. The weirdest change of all is that they have given the weapon an alt fire attack. I'll just show it to you on the screen right now. The alt fire attack can push people into corners, and it's actually pretty useful, but it can't reflect any projectiles or anything like that. It's kind of like a mini air blast, but it's only to reflect, you know, players instead of, you can't reflect any projectiles like rockets or anything else, only players. Next up, we have the Soldier. The Righteous Bison actually received a nerf. At point blank range, the weapon actually deals 45 damage instead of 20 to 80 like before. They've also slowed down the projectile speed by 30%, which makes the weapon slow as shit. They've also added a new effect. Instead of projectiles penetrating players and doing the same amount of damage to the next player behind him, instead it will do 25% less damage each player goes through. Another change to the Soldier's arsenal is the disciplinary action. Now, instead of the speed boost whip from your teammate lasting 3 seconds, it only lasts 2 seconds, which is pretty much unnoticeable. But yeah, I guess it's still a change, but I don't really see why this even needed a nerf, to be honest. The Sniper didn't really receive that many weapon changes, however he did receive a few. The Sydney Sleeper actually got a buff. Now when you do a fully charged headshot with the Sydney Sleeper, it applies Jarate in a radius. They've also given the Sydney Sleeper the ability to extinguish teammates. If you do a scope shot at a teammate, you can now extinguish them, which is just insane. But if you really think about it, you know, you are extinguishing your teammates with piss, so I don't know if it's a buff or a nerf. I'm just kidding, no, it's a buff. It's definitely a buff. The Spy hasn't gotten any weapon changes, however he's gotten one massive buff, which is a speed buff. Now his max speed has been increased from 300 to 320. Basically now you can actually chase down medics. Well, you can't chase them down, but you can basically, follow the back of a medic. The speed boost doesn't really seem like much, but it's actually a lot if you compare it to other classes, and yeah, it just helps us. It just helps us spy, it just helps us spy. Yeah. For the heavy, we have a small buff for the Natasha and the Brass Beast. Basically, whenever your health is below 50%, you gain a 20% damage resistance when your weapon is spun up and firing. There was also a nerf for the Hulong Heater. Basically, now you get a minus 10% damage penalty whenever you're firing the weapon. However, you get a plus 25% increased damage versus burning players. This creates a whole new strategy. Basically, you can get a pyro to go around flaming some people, and then when they're on fire, you can just mow them down because you're doing 25% extra damage with the Hulong Heatmaker on burning targets. Now, the Hulong Heatmaker has actually reduced ammo drain to -4 per second instead of -6. The Pyro also received a small buff. Basically now all of the flamethrowers direct damage reduces medigun healing and resists shield effect by 25%. That basically means if you're doing direct damage, it's harder for the medic to heal the target that's being healed. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, you can mow down heavies even easier now. So yeah, it's pretty helpful. It's a pretty good buff. The Demoman received a nerf for the Bootlegger and the Alibaba Wee Booty, which is basically the same weapon, but I just had to state it. But anyways, to activate the speed boost effect from these items, you have to equip a shield. The Iron Bomber also received a decreased defuse time to 1.4 seconds instead of 2 seconds. That basically means the Iron Bomber shoots out a projectile. It takes 1.4 seconds to detonate instead of 2 seconds. And the Quickie Bomb Launcher also had a few changes. They've actually increased the charge time reduction to -70% from 50%. That means they've also increased the damage bonus from charged shots to +35% from 25%. They've also increased the clip size penalty to -50%, which is only 4 stickies per shot. So I don't know if it got a buff or a nerf. It's balanced, but I don't know if it's got a buff or a nerf or anything like that. To be honest, I'm sure that Uncle Dane will make an in-depth video on these changes because the engineer received a crap ton of game changes, and most of them are actually buffs. I'll just be going over the changes and I won't go as in-depth because I'm sure Uncle Dane will. Anyways, let's start off. Level 1 teleporters only cost 50 metal to put down. It used to cost 125, which is just insane. The Widowmaker also got a buff. Now you do 10% extra damage when attacking enemies when attacking the same targets as your sentry, which basically means if your mini sentry is attacking a heavy, you can mow him down because you're doing 10% extra damage, which is actually pretty noticeable. The Eureka effect also received a buff. Now you receive 20% less metal from dispensers and pickups. It used to be 50% less, which is a massive buff. Also, the weapon received a new stat. Now teleporters created with this weapon equipped cost 50% less metal, which means that tellies only cost 25 metal. This kind of looks like Valve is trying to get more engineers to build teleporters because it's so easy to build teleporters now. The Pumpson received a few changes too. They increased the close range damage to 72 instead of 62 and reduced long range damage to 32 from 42. Before I start talking about the medic, let me just say that this update must have made ARA7 extremely happy. The medic probably got the biggest buff in the entire update. Basically now all of the mediguns allowed the medic to match the speed of their healing targets. So you can run as fast as Scout with an Uber charge. So you can Uber charge a Scout now, which is insane. I mean, you can already Uber charge a Scout, but you can keep up with the Scout. Because of this, the Quick Fix kind of lost its charm because the Quick Fix was known for that weapon that allows you to run as fast as Scout, but now you can run as fast as Scout with a normal medigun. Also, sadly, the Quick Fix actually got another nerf, if that wasn't, nerfy enough, giving all of the mediguns the ability to run as fast as Scout, and now the Quick Fix gets nerfed again. Basically now, the Uber charge rate has actually decreased to 15% faster. It used to be able to charge 25% faster, now it's only 15% faster. The Overdose has gotten a buff. Now, the movement speed is actually 20% instead of 10%, and the damage penalty has also increased to -15% from 10%, which isn't really that much of a difference in my opinion. Basically now a dropped medigun loses its stored charge over time and it decays over time. That's pretty much all the weapon changes that TF2 received. They didn't actually have that many changes compared to Gunmetal or Tough Break, so I just thought of putting it all into one video. Hope you guys liked the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more future videos. As always, have an awesome day. Hope to see you in the next video, and stay awesome. Peace.